Welcome back to a new post today. Let's discuss about an important issue that has been making news, and it is also related to the security situation in the Northeast, which is very critical from the Look East policy point of view. And this is with regard to a delegation of the Kuki Zo community now meeting the Ministry of Home Affairs, Amit Shah, with regard to the free movement regime. Now, a delegation from the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum representing the Kuki Zo tribes of Manipur met the Ministry of Home Affairs with regard to scrapping of the free movement regime along the border of Myanmar. We have such a provision only with Myanmar, though India shares borders with Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, China, and also Nepal and Bhutan, but we have such a provision only with Myanmar. And this is because of the irregular border that was drawn by the British in as early as in 1826, and it is one of the very important reasons why exactly there is a insurgency or also a security issue in the Northeast. The recent Meitei and the Kuki issue also can be attributed to this. Let's have a quick review of what exactly is this free movement regime, and though it has certain good intentions, but there are repercussions of this with regard to the internal security issue of India. Now, as I told you that there was an Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum group representing the Kukis and the Zo community that met the Ministry of Home Affairs, Amit Shah, and they had raised concerns regarding the scrapping of the free movement regime with regard to the border of Myanmar. And recently, Government of India has taken this decision to scrap what is called as the free movement regime and build up a fence across the border of Myanmar. So they also brought to forth insurgent issue with regard to a Kangla Fort incident in Imphal in Manipur, where Arambai Tengol, a radical Meitei group, now administered oath to the elected representatives to protect the integrity of Myanmar. This is only one instance of how the situation is still critical and sensitive in Manipur. Let me tell you, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram share a border with Myanmar. Now, the delegation met the Ministry of Home Affairs and demanded separate administration for the Kuki and Zo, which are facing exclusion and from the Myanmar, and also ethnic cleansing in India as well at the hands of the Meiteis. So they pressed for the demand for a separate administration for them. Government recently decided to fence the border of India and Myanmar and do away with something called as a free movement regime. What is exactly this free movement regime with regard to the border of Myanmar or along the border of India and Myanmar? It means nothing but every member of the Hill tribe who is either a citizen of India or a citizen of Myanmar residing within 16 kilometers of either side of the border can cross the border on the production of a border pass, usually valid for a year, and stay up to 2 weeks per visit. India and Myanmar, let me tell you, have an unfenced border, and this is how the free movement regime is catered to and also facilitated. People on either side, including the Kuki and the Zo people, which are tribes, have familial ethnic ties prompted by arrangements of this free movement regime, and this was lastly revised in 2016. On several occasions in the past, the government had attributed the ongoing ethnic violence in the state of Manipur to unregulated movement of people across the border from Myanmar to India and from India to Myanmar. Manipur has been affected by ethnic violence between the tribal Kuki and Zo and the Meitei community as early as May 2023, and in this violence more than 200 people have killed and thousands have been displaced from their homes. So much so, the situation went so critical that there was a consideration of imposing a president's rule in Manipur. Ethnic violence broke out in May 2023 between the Kuki and the Zo and the Meiteis over the Meiteis' demands for scheduled tribe, and a similar direction given by the Manipur High Court to the government to consider including Meitei into the scheduled tribe. However, let me tell you that Meiteis constitute most of the population in Manipur, and the minorities are the Kuki and Zo. Kuki and Zo are against the inclusion of the Meiteis into the scheduled tribe list. Now, a series of confidence building measures were taken after that, like constitution creation of a judicial inquiry committee. Financial aid for victims were given, and also sending of additional troops as well. Another step was taken by the government to bring peace in the region in November 29. That is, a peace pact was signed between ALFA, that is the United Liberation Front of Assam. Let me tell you, these groups have support for each other, and the reason why insurgency still exists in the northeast is because of the support of one group to the other and the help that they give to each other as well. So a peace accord with one group definitely will have its repercussions on the other groups also, which may come forward for dialogue and discussion, and also ceasefire with the other groups as well with the government of India. Ministry of Home Affairs decided that the free movement regime between India and Myanmar may be scrapped to ensure internal security protection of the country, and mainly to maintain demographic structure of the northeastern region, which is being flooded by illegal immigrants, especially the Rohingyas from Myanmar, tribals from Myanmar, from Bangladesh, and also parts of Nepal as well. So the Ministry of External Affairs is now currently in the process of scrapping this free movement regime, and MHA has recommended the immediate suspension of its operation from all the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, and Mizoram. There is yet this decision of scrapping the free movement regime was termed as historic to curb illegal immigration in the northeastern areas, and also strengthening the internal security after a recent announcement by the government of India. Now, the border of India and Myanmar runs for 1643 kilometers between four states of Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, and Arunachal Pradesh. It is a mutually agreed arrangement between the two countries that allows the tribes living along the border area up to 16 kilometers to enter each other's country without a visa. Now, the border between India and Myanmar was demarcated by the British in 1826 without seeking the opinion of the people living in the region. The border people therefore were affected by division, and they still have the same ethnic and cultural ties between the two nations, and therefore the free movement regime was brought out with the consent of the two countries. The current India-Myanmar border reflects this British drawn line. People in the region have various ethnic and familial ties across the border. In Manipur's More region, there are villages where there are homes in Manipur, and in Nagaland's Mon district, the border actually passes through the house of the chief of Longwa village, splitting his home into two. Apart from facilitating people-to-people contact, the free movement regime is supposed to provide impetus to local trade and business. The region has a long history of trans-border commerce, apart from customs and border huts also located on the border, giving the low-income economy. Such exchanges in the northeastern region, especially the states of these four states, such exchanges are very, very vital for sustenance of local livelihoods of the tribals. For border people in Myanmar too, this free movement regime is very helpful because their towns are closer to the Indian towns for business, education, and healthcare than their own areas in their country. Now, free movement regime was implemented in 2018 as part of the Modi government's Act East policy at that time, when diplomatic relations between India and Myanmar were very good and were on an upswing. In fact, FMR was to be put in place in 2017 itself, but it was deferred because of the Rohingya crisis which erupted in that year. Now, while the Chin people living in the Chin state of Manipur, contiguous with Mizoram, are of the same ethnicity of the Mizos, the Kukis and the Zomis of the Myanmar also, there is also a sizable Naga population in Myanmar, largely in the Naga self-administered zone of Myanmar, Sagyang region, and the Mizo and the Chin Nagas on both the sides share very close social, economic, day-to-day, cultural, ethnic relationships. So why exactly has a decision has been taken all of a sudden to scrap this free movement regime? The FMR has led to large-scale illegal migration, displacing the tribes in the northeastern state, especially of the Chins from Myanmar into India, which are of the same ethnicity of the Kukis and Zomis in Manipur, and this is one of the root cause of the volatility in the region. The another one is a landmark decision is to address this illegal migration and also illegal activities that are happening across the border. This also builds on the narco terror network that is continuing to have, because it is very, very close to the death triangle in the Southeast Asian countries, which help in drug trafficking and also drug smuggling as well. Now, Indo-Myanmar border is also a breeding house for many insurgents insurgent groups that have the camps in Myanmar and tend to illegally bring up many arms and ammunitions as well, along with fake currency and narcotics. So these are some of the reasons. And apart from that, even ethnic cleansing that is going on of the Kukis by the Meiteis and some of the tribes coming from Myanmar as well. Now, although beneficial to the local people and helpful in India-Myanmar ties, it has been criticized for all of the above, like illegal trafficking, drug trafficking, gun running, etc. The border also runs through deep forests and unregulated terrain and is unfenced and is very difficult to monitor, providing a breeding ground for many illegal persons, non-state actors, and also illegal insurgent groups as well. Now, since a military group in Myanmar, the ruling junta has launched a campaign of persecution against the Kuki-Chin, and many of them from Myanmar have come into India. This has pushed a large number of Myanmaris across India's western borders into the states of Manipur and Mizoram, where they have sought shelter, displacing many local tribals in these states as well. This has also led to ethnic and cultural cleansing by the refugees in the home states of Manipur. These chunks are also taking up the local jobs for being by accepting very less payments compared to the tribes, and therefore displacement of the economy is also hovering. Now, given the interests of the local population and the tribes, removal of the FMR may have illegal repercussions. This is what the local says, and therefore it is not a very good idea to immediately scrap the FMR, keeping in mind the livelihoods that will be impacted and also the travel, healthcare and education that may also be held. So strategists, especially political analysts, say that it is imperative for New Delhi to tackle the issue by killing the snake without breaking the stick approach, and this is by achieving the goals without hurting the interests of the tribes on these border areas, and also to ensure that this does not even lead to excess of other insurgent movements because of this issue in the northeastern, further making critical the already delicate internal security issue in Manipur and also other northeastern states. So I hope this was really helpful for you all to understand the free movement regime and why exactly the government is really looking at scrapping this, so much dealing with the internal security challenges that are coming up because of this. And I hope you did like the issue. If you did, please do like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment, and I shall see you in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.